My name's Helyn Gould. I'm the Associate Dean Student Experience, and hopefully you'll remember that I spoke to you in week 11 of semester 1 about personal development planning. This session today is the follow-up session to that one from semester 1, and therefore it'd be useful if you've at least reviewed the material from week 11 of semester 1 before you go through this particular video. So make sure that you have in mind all of the material I covered at that point, but also the related activities that happened individually and in your group sessions for that week. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is the next step in terms of personal development planning. What we're going to do is to look at where you are just now and take you forward into how personal development planning is going to continue into subsequent years, into second year and third year. So, last semester we introduced you to the 3-stage process and got you to go through that. It was about looking at what your objectives and goals might be, and we had you looking at different aspects that employers are looking for, those sorts of different elements, and then taking a critical evaluation of where you were in terms of your personal and professional development in these. And we used a 3-stage model at that point. So it was about what are your objectives or goals, trying to get you to evaluate where you are at that particular point, and then trying to come up with a tangible plan of action. The idea being something that you could put into place, complete, and it would have measurable, tangible outputs from it. So you could have a real impact on developing your personal development. At this point, what happened? How did you get on with that? How did that process go? So you should have had and developed in week 11 of semester 1 5 objectives and a matching plan to achieve those objectives over semester 2 of your first year. How did it go? Did you actually do it? Did you put everything that you planned in place? Did you actually make it happen? How did it go? How successful was it? What we're actually getting you to do at this point is to stop and take stock. Now, within that actual plan that you made last semester, there was this aspect of review. You were meant to plan in when you would stop and think about and measure the success and perhaps make adjustments or changes to that initial plan. Now that's because although that was a 3-stage process that we introduced to you in semester 1, in actual fact, there is an obvious 4th stage. Now that 4th stage is the review point in the particular plan. So we introduced it as a 3-stage process, but in actual fact there's a 4th stage. And that 4th stage of review, of looking at how successful things have gone, turns it from a staged serial process into a cycle. And it's that cycle of professional development that we are trying to instigate in you within first year. What we're going to concentrate for the rest of this session on is the review activities. And this is going to be a relatively short session because it's more about setting you up for that review process that you're going to carry out in week 11. A key element to personal and professional development planning is this particular statement, which I used last semester, but I've highlighted in red this time a key component of it. And that's the idea that you're going to do active consideration of your career, your development goals and your plans. PDP is very much something that you do. It is not something that the university staff do for you. It's something that you have to do personally, it's all in the name. But you have to also be quite active about it, proactive. So you have to engage and think for yourself. And the more that you put into this particular process, the more beneficial you'll find it is. So you're going to get out what you put in. So if you haven't made much effort, if you haven't put your plans in practice, if you did the plans in week 11 of semester 1 to fulfil what you had to do for MDP, but didn't actually carry them out, who is it that's losing out of that particular process when you don't carry through with these sorts of plans? Really, it's about your personal development and you have to drive that forward. This is not something that staff are going to check up on you during your first year to do. However, it will link into second and third year activities where you will speak to a member of staff about the plans that you're making. And what we're going to ask you to do over week 11 is at an individual level, we ask you to identify 5 objectives from at the end of semester 1 that you were setting yourself for first year. So that was about what you wanted to achieve by the end of first year. First year is only a few weeks left of this. We're in week 11. You've got one more week of classes after this, and then you're in the May exam diet. So you're almost done, you're almost there. How did where you are now relate to where you plan to be? How have your plans turned out? So I want you to think about those objectives, those 5 objectives you set yourself. I want you to look at them and to review them. And that's your individual task for this week of the MDP, is to review those 5 objectives and look at how those turned out. And also then think about putting in place a plan of what you want to do for, one, the rest of this semester. So what's left of it, it's only a couple of months, including the exam period. But also what you want to take forward from first year into your second year planning. So, got here just a highlight of a few different aspects we want you to think about. We want you to look at the objectives that you set and look at how successful they were. Firstly, did you do them? Because it's actually very easy for this type of planning to not give it a priority, particularly if you weren't really quite exact about what you were going to do. If you left it quite vague, that's when you tend to miss something. If you put in something concrete into your plan, then it's much more likely you would have actually achieved that. So, how successful were those tasks and the activities that you planned? And what does that tell you about the kind of activities you should plan as part of PDP in the future? What kind of activities were most effective? What was the least effective? Why do you think that was? What progress have you made over the objectives that you set and over first year more generally? Because at this point I think it's useful to stop and take stock of your learning overall, your overall development, what you gained out of first year and how you can tie that into your future studies. So what progress have you made? Where are you strong? Where are you weaker that you need to start to put more effort into your development? And also, a key point to that, what evidence can you point to? One of the things that I brought up with you in semester 1 was the idea of starting to build together evidence of your strengths, evidence of what you can achieve. And that kind of ties into a portfolio idea. But it's very important to start to get yourself into that process from the point of view of recruitment. When you go to gain a graduate position, they're going to look for evidence that you can actually do what you say that you do. And going through this process as part of PDP is very helpful for you in terms of actually achieving and being able to present evidence that supports the point that you're trying to put forward. So it's got to be very much based in something tangible. Not that you just feel a bit better at something, although that is quite valid in certain terms. Having more confidence is useful, but also being able to point to, well, I did better in this presentation, I got much better feedback, for example. So, very tangible aspects. To finish off, to summarise what we want you to do, you're going to take what the activities that you've been doing in first year, which has been a very light touch as far as PDP is concerned, getting you to think about what your objectives for a year are, starting to think about longer term and medium term planning and put a process in place. On the MDP website, you will now find a PDP handbook for the business school. Because what we actually do once you move into second and third year is ask you to engage with this planning process through the materials that we provide for you, but also to come to a one-to-one meeting with your personal development advisor. Now, your personal development advisor at the moment is the first year advisor, Karen Clancy. But after first year, when you get to the summer and you've made a decision about which principal subjects you're going to take forward in your degree, you will be assigned a personal development advisor from one of your 2 principal subjects. You will then be asked to come in, invited into a meeting in semester 2 to basically review your progress, how you're getting on with your degree, and also your personal development planning. Now, within the PDP handbook, you will also find a particular form which we will use. It's used throughout Strathclyde, but there's a particular version of it that's used within the business school, and that's called the Plan, Act and Review form. It's worthwhile looking at it just now because you'll have to complete certainly the Plan and Act parts of that prior to a meeting with your PDA in second and third year. So that's something that you can use even at this point to start to frame your objectives for second year and perhaps to plan what you want to achieve in the remainder of your first year. So what we want you to do is to have a look at all those materials so you're familiar with the PDP process in the business school. And we want you to create a plan for the remainder of semester. So this plan is really taking you through to the exam period. It's about your remaining assignments, it's about the different aspects and things that you're going to have to do. So bearing in mind what you have to achieve, what are the areas that you want to develop? So maybe it is making more use of past papers, being smarter, developing, finding out more about your exam revision. It could be tied into those sorts of aspects, or it might be other things that you want to fill in during this period. But we want you to put together a plan for the remainder of this semester. We also want you to make a note of what you want to take out of first year more generally and put into your second year PDP. And we will pick up on this when you start MDP 2 in the next academic year. So you have a number of individual tasks, and when you get to your group sessions in week 11, you will then as a group be reviewing your activity for the past 2 semesters. And there'll be a variety of different activities and outputs that you need to produce within a group setting. In order to make sure that you are adequately prepared for that, then you should complete the individual tasks before your group meeting.